Hey, and welcome to Minimalist Gourmet, where today we're going to be making an absolutely spectacular chicken and parmesan flavored risotto. This is one of those dishes that everybody loves to eat in a restaurant, but few make at home because they think it's so difficult to make. Once you see how easy this is to prepare in your kitchen, you're going to be astonished. Let's get crack-a-lackin'. Start by bringing your chicken stock up to a boil. You can either then turn it off and cover it with a lid, or just turn it down to very low, but don't use cold chicken stock in this recipe. For best results, use a large saute pan. In this case, I'm using my wok because it's nice and wide. Try not to use something too deep and narrow. Our olive oil goes in, followed by our shallots. You can just dice up your shallot like normal, that's not a problem, but a real cool trick is to actually use a grater and grate them. The shallot basically melts away as you cook it, leaving you with all of that wonderful flavor and not changing that creamy texture of the risotto. We're going to cook our shallots on medium heat for about 4 minutes or so until they're nice and translucent. Our garlic goes in next. Of course, you could just use regular diced garlic, but I would highly recommend you use some roasted garlic. I'll leave a link in the description below on my short on how to make this. It really ups the flavor a lot. We're going to cook this for another 2 minutes or so before adding in our rice. We'll be using Arborio rice today, which is the most classic rice for risotto, and it is never ever washed before you put it in. This is a short-grained, high-starch rice, but it's not your only option. I'll leave a few alternatives in the description below. Every one of my videos has a written recipe with quantities down below in the description, so make sure to check that out. And while you're down there, maybe consider subscribing, liking, and commenting. I'd love to hear from you. We're going to continue cooking the rice for about 4 to 5 minutes, toasting it and really accentuating that wonderful nutty flavor that the rice has. Now we deglaze with 1/4 cup white wine. If you don't want to put wine in your dish, you can substitute 1/8 of a cup apple cider vinegar or white wine vinegar diluted with 1/8 of a cup water. And now the fun starts. We're going to add 1 ladle, a bit over half a cup of our chicken stock to our rice. And now we stir this continuously because we want the rice to cook nice and evenly. This will slowly release the starch from the rice, making that trademark nice, creamy texture that we're looking for. Cook this, stirring constantly, allowing the chicken stock to completely absorb into the rice. This is going to reduce down until it's nice and thick. You want to wait until all of this first addition of liquid is completely reduced down and absorbed into the rice before adding any more. It should look like this before you move on to adding in another half cup of chicken stock. Simply repeat the process, add in a half a cup of our hot chicken stock, allow it to cook until fully reduced, and repeat. This is going to take about 20 to 25 minutes and use up almost all of the 4 cups of chicken stock that we prepared. I loved watching Hell's Kitchen, and Gordon Ramsay has a signature dish of lobster risotto. I always thought it was going to be so difficult to make, but honestly, it surprised me. It is slightly labor intensive with all the stirring, but fairly straightforward to make. After trying risotto for the first time on a cruise during my honeymoon, I knew I had to learn how to make this at home. I love the independence of being able to cook all of my favorite dishes right at home, as well as saving a ton of money versus going to a restaurant. After 20 minutes of cooking, my rice is looking great. It's plumped up nice and beautifully, and it's looking nice and creamy. The only way to test out that it's done is to taste it. You want to cook it until it's just al dente and absolutely not overdone. If you test this and your rice needs a little additional cooking, that's not a problem. Go ahead and cook it. If for some reason you do run out of chicken stock, at the end you can use a half cup or 2 of boiling water. My rice is cooked perfectly, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat off and finish it off with a little bit of freshly grated Parmesan cheese and a bit of butter. Now, the chicken stock and the Parmesan cheese both have a good amount of salt in them, so if you noticed, I haven't added any additional salt to that. If you need to add a little bit, you certainly can. I'm just going to go ahead and finish mine off with a little bit of black pepper. You can use white pepper if you don't want to see any black spots in your risotto. I like a nice, thick, creamy risotto, but if you like a slightly looser risotto, that's not a problem. Just go ahead and add about a 1/4 cup of chicken stock right at the end and stir it in. It'll help loosen up everything nicely. Give it one final taste test and make sure all your seasoning is on point, adjust if necessary. When serving, risotto is traditionally a starter, appetizer, or a side dish. However, this can absolutely be made into a main entree if you're so inclined. I will be enjoying mine today with some herb roasted chicken, and I do want to finish this off with a little bit of toppings. I'm going to go ahead and put on just a bit more of that freshly grated Parmesan cheese, as well as some freshly cut basil. A real handy way to cut up any sort of leafy garnish like this is to stack your leaves together and then roll them tightly into a tube. This will help them not to rip or bruise when you cut them. Now you just need to run your knife through them, creating nice little ribbons. This is called chaffinade, and it's just a real quick, easy way to make up some herb garnish. Top with a little bit of fresh basil, and you have a risotto that is dressed to impress, but at a fraction of the price of going out to a restaurant. And guys, since you enjoyed this recipe so much, I'd like to recommend my pastizio video right here. It's another dish many people only get in restaurants, but it's super fun and easy to make right at home. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to see each and every one of you again here next time.